We'll get started here. Time being 6 o'clock. You got that thing working right this time?
I think so.
Time being 6 o'clock, we'll call the October meeting for the zoning board to order. And apparently a couple of cases tonight are already in the process of possibly being continued or tabled. I think the first one we'll get to tonight, relative to Mr. Pyra here, is the case number
1406.
1406. Wrong page, I hear it.
I'm sorry, I'm wrong.
Yeah,
1408.
08, right. Case number 1408, relative to the relief from zoning article for medical offices at 100 Autumn Drive. Request has been received by the office to continue this case until the November meeting. And I put that before the board if they wish to continue. Look for a motion to continue or to table.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to continue and a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, it's approved, so we'll look for you next month.
Thank you.
Now the next applicant, they out front, Derek?
The Gaslight Village, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, let's see, you want to, we'll handle the other one.
Okay.
The,
1406.
That's 1406. Yeah.
for the case 1406, a variance application seeking relief from zoning article to allow for motor vehicle rental at 407 West Main Street in the mixed-use district. Now, we've continued this now for 3 months, and apparently they still haven't decided whether they're going to go forward or not. I think it's time to either.
Can we make a motion to table with the provision that if and when they come back, we can do a pro rata cost for notifying
We
the
can't do that.
postage?
Can't do that, because the cost is the same. Everybody would have
Okay, I
to.
was thinking about deleting the processing fee, the portion of it, and just go with postage to notify the butters.
Why complicate our situation?
Okay,
Okay.
if you feel that way.
I'm just, you know,
It's
we're,
not our fault.
right, I mean, we played around with it quite a while.
That's fine.
So, are we satisfied then with a motion? Are you putting forth a motion to table
Indefinitely?
indefinitely? Yeah, unless they choose to reapply.
They are eventually gonna come back at it.
We don't know that.
We don't know that, so it may end up being totally canceled.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll move to table, case number 1406, pending further notification from the applicant.
okay, do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
We have a second on that. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are you abstaining?
No, fine.
Oh. Okay, so be it, consider it tabled, and you can inform them accordingly. And last one would be,
Come on in.
Is that motion okay? Is that motion okay?
motion.
Okay.
To table. Oh, okay.
So are we up? You ready?
Yes. Yes, we're allowed. We're going to hear case 1407, variance application seeking relief from zoning article 8.2.3 to allow for 39 units within the Gaslight Village Co-op manufactured housing park at 5 Twin Street in the mixed-use district. R10 lot 25. Are you going to address the issue?
I am.
Okay.
So my name is Nicholas Schedule. I'm a professional engineer with DuBois & King.
Okay.
And
What was your last name?
Schedule, SCEGGELL.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so I work with DuBois & King. We're in Laconia. We have a contract with the Gaslight Village Cooperative to do a feasibility study on expanding the park and doing some cost estimates on infrastructure improvements. So, you know, when we got started, basically we quickly kind of realized that part of the feasibility of determining whether or not they can, before we got into really costs and stuff, determining whether they could add 10 lots was to deal with the zoning board and getting a zoning variance based on the current ordinance that limits the number of units for a mobile home park to 30. So, you know, just a little background on the cooperative. They have in the past used the property in the front, the frontage along Laconia Road as a leased commercial operation. They had Raycor in there that was selling manufactured homes, and really kind of got caught by surprise, I think, and he ended up not coming back, not renewing any lease, and kind of dead of night takes off. No more income from that, and kind of quickly realized that they don't really want to be in the leasing commercial property business. And so what they, you know, what a cooperative is really a homeowners association of owners that own homes in the park and cooperatively own the property that all the homes sit on. So the idea being that they would get a residential use to supplement that, or to replace that income that they were getting from leasing the property commercially. So in order to do that, they need, you know, 10 new condo association fee players, you know, fee payers in order to make up that difference. So that's really what we're looking to get a variance from in order to have 39 units within the park. They currently have 29 units. The park is served by the Lockmere Village District water system and septic systems. And future,
System.
yeah.
Are you on town sewer?
No, so the existing homes are connected to individual septic systems or shared septic systems between homes, depending on the homes. That some are shared and some are individual. But the new units that we would propose, you know, this is kind of the first step in the process. We would go to the planning board to get site plan approval after this. And all the new units would be served by sewer that's stubbed out of Route 11 up Laconia Road. So the new homes would be town sewer, and then as part of that project, you know, we're most likely be doing a phased approach to tie in the rest of the homes of the park to town sewer as well. There's a certain portion of the park that can get gravity to Laconia Road, and then another portion of the property that would either need pumping to Laconia Road or gravity by easement, you know, through a budding property owner easement to Church Street, or there's also a potential of going to White Rock, which has their own sewer pumping station. So there are, I guess, options there that haven't been fully explored, but are kind of part of our feasibility study.
How close is White Rock?
White Rock isn't a butter to the.
It is, okay.
Back south, yeah, so that easement might go, we're thinking it would probably go, between these homes, and there's a similar, size space between homes in White Rock that would allow for a gravity sewer to connect in, and it's actually fortunate because there's a sewer manhole right there too, which, you know, preliminary look at the elevations, it's gonna be no problem to get gravity that way, so. Really, you know, as this site were to be developed for these homes, we would anticipate the entire park really being upgraded, you know, potentially with new water lines within the park and new sewer system within the park.
Why would they need new water lines?
Well, the water lines, you know, the original park would have been on its own well until the Lockmere Village District formed and their water source came online, and that's when they connected in. And so the existing water lines, you know, they've repaired leaks, you know, as recently as this summer. So, you know, it's I think if we're tearing up the roads, it's probably an opportunity to upgrade the water system, which is, you know, there's some questions about location of water line, not necessarily knowing where it is, but just bringing it up to current standards and getting it, you know, in you know, good shape.
Are they gonna get some kind of grant or something to do this?
You know, there are a variety of funding sources that we're looking at. I think that, you know, low to moderate income housing here, I think that generating it from their own operating budget is going to be, you know, not really feasible. So I think there is some grant money that we'd be looking to get, and then low interest loans to supplement that, probably, depending on, you know, what's available. And you know, I would, you know, we have someone from the Community Loan Fund here tonight who is really kind of our go-to technical support on all things cooperatives, manufactured housing parks, and really an expert on getting those funding sources lined up and available for infrastructure improvements. So, you know.
It's good that you got an expert to do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, as an engineer, I like to stick with the, you know, the nuts and bolts and design stuff, but, you know, our feasibility study is hopefully gonna outline what costs are involved with not only the site development for the expansion, but also the infrastructure improvements that are out there, and kind of see some of the alternatives on, you know, if we were to put in a pump station versus getting a gravity sewer through an easement, things of that nature. So.
Mm-hmm. So the fact that you're definitely looking at serving the proposed units with sewer is a start.
Yeah, there's
because
no.
I know there's that roughly a 400 or 500 foot run that you would have to do to get back to the park.
Right. I don't think that there's any way that the planning board would approve the lots to be anything but tied into the town sewer. I don't think there's you know, I don't think anybody has any visions of septic systems going in there with what's available out on Laconia Road.
Right. I know exactly where you're coming from there.
Can I ask a question, just for clarification? We're not actually building any units on, these are just sites that we're preparing?
Correct. So I mean, what we want, I guess, is the variance would allow us to really say in our report, you know, it's feasible because the town's ordinance is not a major hurdle that we know now is an unknown. And so the sites would be prepared, you know, probably at this, we'd get into a design phase where we would present a site plan to the planning board that showed grading, drainage improvements that were required as far as, you know, leveling the areas building the road. This would be a new 20-foot wide private road that would get built, and then some pad sites really that would have water, electric, and sewer connections available. And then as homes are, basically the cooperative then works with prospective homeowners, prospective residents that they want to move in there. And this is, the way cooperatives work is, you are a homeowner in the community. You don't rent the home. It's resident owned, and you're a member of the cooperative. You have a stake in the park, and you're a voting member of the cooperative. So as they were able to get residents, they could market the lots, find residents that would purchase their own home. So each individual owns their own home. They would move in, move the home in, connect into the utilities that were available there, and start paying their monthly resident, the dues that are used to pay the water bill, pay the electric bill, things like that.
Thank you.
I have a question. As far as the homes that would be to go onto these sites, can this be any home that somebody brings from somewhere else into the site?
I'm not familiar with the bylaws of the cooperative.
Well, there's no limitations as far as the bylaws go, but the town might have some consideration as to what, some towns have ordinances on how old the home can be in order to move them.
Right.
So they would follow whatever those guidelines.
But it's outdated. It says 95. And that was put in back in 98 when I was working here at the town. So I mean, it's something that should be updated probably next March to bring that up to line. It was supposed to be, the unit's less than 10 years old.
Sure.
Or would the lots be set up for double wides or singles?
Well, the ordinance, there is provision in the ordinance that each lot would have to be a minimum of 10,000 square feet. And so we would meet that portion of the ordinance. We wouldn't be requesting a variance from that. So each of the lots, and as we've kind of outlined in this preliminary, I'm still calling this preliminary because, when we get into final design, the boundaries may change, but we'd always want to have 10,000 square foot lots that would meet that.
Is there a building on number 2?
There is, so that's the existing home that's there, and what we are, the plan, I guess, is that would most likely be a demolition based on, what the cost would be to bring it up to code. It's really, not something that I think we'd be comfortable with someone just moving into, so I think that would be a pad site that would be available to a manufacturer.
Of course, you still have the setbacks and stuff to deal with that city ordinance too.
Absolutely. So I mean, I think all the planning board requirements and other ordinances would be fulfilled. I think the only thing we're looking for the variance is what we've outlined in our application.
Was there anything that you perhaps talked about or looked at as far as, I know you have the 30 unit, which is in the ordinance now, as to just create a second park to include some of the others that are there?
So the existing park is 9 acres approximately, I think, that's what the tax parcel says. I think we end up doing a boundary survey for a site plan to make sure everything's, boundaries are where.
The only survey on this property is under Foley survey that was done back when they used to tie their horse up at the front.
So 9 acres, I think in order to split it, we'd still want to meet, I think we'd be fighting other variant, we'd be forced into other variances because there's a 6 acre minimum requirement.
It'd be for, new farm.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess
6 acres is what you're saying.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to get 2 6 acre parks. You could get 1 6 acre park and 1 3 acre park. So, I mean,
Are
I
you
guess
saying the
it's
whole thing, including the new area, is only 9 acres?
correct.
Really? Okay, I was thinking just the original park as it exists now was 9 acres.
Yeah, I mean, this is all their property, so it's,
Okay.
the whole taxed parcel is 9 acres.
Okay, that's a valid reason why you'd want the, just to expand within the existing side of the park.
And, you know, just a couple other thoughts I had. As part of our process of developing this plan, we held a workshop with the residents, talked with them about what they would like to see. A couple of the things that came out and things that, you know, I encouraged were some landscape buffers along Laconia Road that would be, you know, utilized to screen the property, give the residents some privacy, give the abutters some screening, and also, you know, potential for using that as stormwater management for you know, what's bioretention facilities, or what they're calling them now, rain gardens, areas that we can infiltrate stormwater back into the ground rather than try and store it in ponds. When we get to the site plan review process, you know, stormwater becomes something that's looked at, you know, pretty detailed. You know, it's a detailed look at stormwater. We have to make sure that, you know, we're not increasing stormwater on the site. You know, fortunately, or, you know, I don't know, fortunately isn't the right word, but as it happens to be, you know, the existing site is a lot of pavement here that we'd actually end up reducing the amount of impervious surface on the site as a result of the project. And really, we've talked with DOT about access, and we've been given, a verbal approval to widen the existing access, to give, 2 outward turning lanes that would allow, right-hand turns onto Laconia Road, a little bit more freedom from waiting for people to try and make a left out of there, and then also closing up this open access, kind of, wide open access to the highway that they really, isn't something that they want to see, just from a safety standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that all makes sense. How long do you figure that this will take in order to establish this, barring any time of planning board?
I think funding becomes probably our limit on timing, but I would imagine we're going to be moving forward with our report and trying to get that wrapped up before the end of the year, so that we're applying for funding, this winter, and I think it's hard to say. We probably would be getting into design phase after funding was kind of found, I guess, and at that point, there's a survey and site plan. I could see us going to the planning board, next summer, fall, and then from there, it may be, depending on the timing, it may be 2016 construction or late 2015.
But why would it be that late next year in order to go to the planning board?
Well, I think, in order to go to the planning board, we'd have to do some detailed design work, which would require them to get some funding to do, a boundary survey alone is more than a couple $1,000s. It may be, $5,000 to $10,000 for a boundary survey, and then, design work,
Mm-hmm.
you get, the money adds up, and they need to have the funding in order to pay for that.
Sure.
And then, really, they need to have the funding to lined up before they spend $1 on design. They're gonna wanna know that they've got the funding lined up to do the construction, because they're not gonna proceed with, tens of $1,000s of upfront costs unless they know it's gonna actually get built. So, I mean, I guess, I may be a little conservative saying 2016, but I guess I'm trying to be realistic too. I think, I guess we'll see how things go.
Have you had meetings and discussed this with all the current owners there?
We've had, so we had a kickoff meeting, I've had several meetings with the board, which are open to the residents. Those are public meetings for the residents, where we've discussed kind of the process. We've had the workshop, we had a weekend workshop to try and get residents to provide feedback on, you know, what they'd like to see, and that's where, you know, we got, you know, plant evergreen trees in the landscape buffer and things like that, which, you know, I think are great ideas, stuff that's gonna give us year-round screening is valuable and something that we've heard them, and I think we would incorporate into the design. So yeah, I think, you know, we've given the residents an opportunity to be heard. Hopefully they, you know, they feel like they've been heard, and certainly once the feasibility study is done, we'll have a meeting at that point to kind of present that to the residents again, to the full park. You know, getting them to come to those meetings sometimes is tough, but we market it and advertise it and encourage them to provide input, and at that point we would finalize the study and really move forward with our funding strategy.
Sure. So it's still gonna fall back on the residents themselves when they find out what it's really gonna cost them.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's certainly they pay a significant, you know, fee now to live in the park, and they want to have see that money go towards good infrastructure, and you know they have loans that when they purchase the park that they're paying off the loans, and so we think if we can find funding that's, you know, a combination of grant and low interest loan, then you know the hope would be that we don't really increase the cost to them, but are able to improve the infrastructure where it you know pays for itself, so to speak, as far as the maintenance costs go down in the long run, and ultimately, you know, it's a park that they can market to new residents and fill those 10 new lots with homeowners that are going to be, you know, continually paying dues and increasing the revenue for the park, so that they can, you know, operate and create a you know, nice place to live and walk near.
Sure. Anybody else got any questions here? None at all?
Good.
Michael, come on, give me a question.
Good.
You're expert.
Covered all the bases.
Are you the expert?
I don't know why he put that pressure on me. I'm not the expert. I work for a great organization though, and our ultimate goal is exactly what Nick said, to help these folks get a stable plan that they're not band-aiding their infrastructure problems, they're successful. At the same time, they can help control their rent. I don't foresee, I know he's being a little conservative with funding, but one of the things I wanted to bring up were some of these funding programs through like the New Hampshire DES State Revolving Funds, they only take applications for loans in June, for example. So we may have, depending on which route we go, but we've been known to do some creative financing, so that's our hopes for this, is once we have all the pieces together, we can sit at the table and say, how do we make this work? Because ultimately, right now, they've lost their rental potential in 2001. That's a big hit, and at this point, they've been able to sustain without having to raise the rent. So I think even though we're not getting a huge turnout of the membership, their bottom line is they don't want the rent to go up. So all this is to avoid that from happening.
Mm-hmm. And the outfit that you work for, is that the same one that Mr. Rhodes used to work for?
Used to, Peter Rhodes a long
Peter
time
Rhodes.
ago, sure.
Yes.
Yep, it's
When
New
I was
Hampshire
working in
Community
the
Loan
office
Fund.
here, I had discussions with him relative to the different parks.
Yep.
Because if I'm not mistaken, Mill Park at one time before had the opportunity to go this route, and it never materialized for one reason, whatever it was. I don't know, it just
Right.
never came together.
I will have to say, I think that my pride of working with this group now is this engaged board of directors who have been able to show up for every meeting. They're really committed to the process and realizing in hindsight that not jumping in years ago has has made a huge impact, so
Mhm.
at least I know that the group I've been working with for the last, now 18 months has been great in keeping engaged and plugging forward to get this done, so.
That's good, I'm glad to see that. That was a disappointment when it never
Yeah.
materialized before. And, White Rock was very successful in the one that they did, which is their neighbor, obviously. And they're just, whatever it is, what it is.
Unfortunately, we only offer guidance, it's up to them ultimately to make the decision, but this group is very engaged in realizing that they need to get this done.
Okay, no more questions from the board this time?
I'm good.
Guess we'll open it up to any public comments relative to this whole plan. Your name and
My name is Angelo Ferrugia. I own Fire and Stone. I bought the property over at 539 Laconia Road. Looking over, I got notice on last Thursday. They are great neighbors, great people. I guess I do have some concerns though, in a sense. I'm not gonna lie, I did my due diligence before I dropped, an absorbent amount of money to buy my property 2.5 years ago. And, there are many hurdles on that stretch of road right there. I mean, not to get off track, but I have a rundown building on one side, Fluffy's, that's not going anywhere. So there were a lot of things to take into effect, and into account for it. And some of the things that, were in my thought process is when I looked at it, and I looked at, I know they reference in line with the neighborhood on here. When looking at the neighborhood, every development or association in line with what Gaslight is, whether it's behind Fast Cash, the new development there, whether it's White Rock, whether it's Winnisquam condos down the road, everyone is really set far back from the road. There is no residential up towards the road, albeit a buffer in between or whatnot. So those setbacks kind of took into account because obviously, it is a high traffic road. It's a 40-mile-per-hour road, and people miss what they're looking at. The buffer, I think, is a great idea, but throwing up a buffer in front is one more obstacle for me to overcome along with the sign ordinance in Tilton. Looking over it, and I did do, quite a bit of research over the past few days that I could. I know it's in place for 30 units in Tilton. The biggest thing that I read in my understanding and from talking to people and, is that the basis of a, variance can never be decided due to a financial hardship. Looking through this, and I understand that and I feel for them, really the whole basis that's mentioned in almost every single comment on this is a financial hardship over losing right court housing and over a vacant lot out front. And while I do feel for that, at the same time, I have to look out for myself and my business, and I'm constantly improving and putting money into it. I don't want to put money into it in vain. Bringing it up closer, I mean, if you look at, and I started looking at different areas, whether, it be in Guilford, where they have the Lakeshore Park, whether it's in Concord, where they have the one on Manchester Street. Every single development, residential, in a commercial area like this is well set back. Bringing this forward is, I understand their reasoning that it's to overcome the financial hardship, but at the same time, it's going against what the people at Tilton set forth, when they set the statute, they were looking for a variance from. That's my concern over it. Also, too, you're going to be looking at more traffic in and out of there, which, in that area, that is a very dangerous stretch of road at the top of that hill. It's already hard to navigate, hard to come in and out. I know we went through it, and I sat at the previous boards for the gentleman that was trying to lease it for sheds and so forth. Today is definitely a much more planned, much more organized than anything that's been put forth prior for the usage of that property. But I still think there's a lot in here, as far as maintaining affordable housing. You start factoring in, I sat down and did the numbers over the weekend, the cost of a single wide mobile home today. Then you factor in the cost of your hookups, then you can factor in the cost of a park rent, which by taking on this, loans, grants, whatever, their park rent's gonna go up. You're now putting it into the ballpark of what it is to go buy a single family residential home that there's plenty of them for sale in Tilton. So I don't see the feasibility of providing low-cost housing. It's actually rivaling anything else by the time you factor everything together. That's just a couple of my concerns. Once again, like I said, they're great neighbors. I just have to voice my concerns on the issue, and that's it.
Okay, I won't elaborate too much on what you said, but the first thing I would point out is the fact that you're in a mixed-use district.
Yep.
Which does allow for residential and commercial.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, even if they were to sell those front lots to me, I could put a home up
Mm-hmm.
30 feet from the road.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mean, as far as any effect that it might have on your business and your signage, I mean, from what I can see here, there's gotta be in front of 9 and 10 there. You're just to the west of 8 and 9, right?
I can't say that.
No, they're right there. So next to
Oh,
one,
yeah, I'm sorry,
next
you're on the
to
other
one.
side.
yeah,
You're on the other side.
that still needs a
They're right
buffer.
So,
How deep is that buffer?
Yeah, how deep is the buffer? That's
Exactly.
what I was trying to
That
determine.
buffer is on that side, it's, I believe, at the property line, we've got 75, 80 feet. And then, it probably gets to about 100 feet, here, and then this one is about 50 feet. And then I think it's about 70, 75 feet down there.
okay. So there really is quite a bit of area between the road and the first lot.
But once we figure in the buffer, that's my concern. Because
Once
if we're
what?
looking at putting in, evergreens and this and that and so forth, that's
I
obviously.
can do that if I put a home there. If I go
Well,
up a
even
lot,
another business could do that.
yeah, another business could come in and go right out within, as close to the road as you are, if you will.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's not like they're asking for anything that couldn't already happen without any variances at all.
Mhm.
Okay, because it is a mixed-use district. I'm sorry? Yes, sir.
So one other thing, with the expansion of the driveway or the access to the state highway, there's a state highway permit that would require us to meet certain site distance requirements. And so, those would actually push the buffer, as far as what kind of vegetation we'd be able to put and maintain, within that site distance. So, the larger plantings would be at the very far back edge, and the home, we could even envision some plantings that were within this property that were developed at the padding out of that site, some additional vegetation that we push further back, if that's, a concern. I think that's something we can work with at the site plan process.
No, that's really a site plan, it's not this board
Sure,
here. This
yeah.
is really a planning board issue as to how you address the site itself.
Right.
We're here just strictly to look at the expansion to 39 units. And as far as, I don't really see it as a financial thing, because I mean, you're right, that chances are when it's all said and done, they're gonna be paying more than what they are today. That generally is the works out, but it affords them some decent ownership that they wouldn't normally have if they were just flat paying park rent. As far as the, low-cost housing, well, that's not really to go anywhere, because anything less than 200,000 low-cost housing. And if that isn't anywhere we could go with that. It's an issue, I mean, if you wanted to address it, it would be, if anything, with the planning board. The planning board is the one that really governs the actual.
Oh, no, I was just
Site.
addressing the reason for the
The
application.
issues, I
That's
understand.
actually what's on
But I just want to be sure that you're clear on these other elements, such as the fact that it is a mixed-use district.
Yep.
And so you could have homes or commercial. And, well, no, maybe you want to sell Christmas trees out front there.
Thought about it.
It would not be a bad location to do that.
Yeah, you want-
Rather limited income.
You wanna talk about traffic coming in and out though?
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
We'll take into consideration.
Doesn't appear to increase the density either. In other words, if you take our 30 and 6 acres, or 30 units in 6 acres, 40 units in 9 acres is less dense than
Correct.
Yeah.
It's about
So it's
one
not-
home
it's not
every,
increasing density at all.
one home every 0.23.
With sewers.
39 and 9 acres is one for every 0.23 acres, and 30 and 6 is one for every 0.2 acres. So it's less dense than what the ordinance,
Mhm.
it's kind of what I think the spirit of the ordinance is trying to convey.
Yeah, I think what they're trying to avoid when they put this in the ordinance is having manufactured homes right next to each other going down the line like we've
Yeah.
seen in the past. And trying to avoid that, allow people to breathe, if you will. And
There's some room
and
between
not,
units, yeah.
not be all jammed up together. And I think we're doing that fairly well here. I mean, that's, they're
Sure.
actually further gonna be, looks like it'd be further apart.
It would be, and I
The
think the
units
10,000
over
square
there.
foot lot requirement probably helps with that too.
Mhm. Anything further from the public?
I'm in a butter, I'm not a butter, I'm a neighbor or something, I'm a town member or something like that, Joe.
You-
I belong someplace.
Are you in a butter or do you just think you're in a butter?
I might be in a butter, I'm not sure. No, I didn't get notified, I would have been notified. So I'm just a commenting
Okay,
civilian.
A general comment from,
Yeah.
from the general public
Yeah,
then.
so,
Concerned citizen,
what was that, Bob?
concerned citizen.
Thank you, I knew I was something, I just hung out long enough, somebody to help me.
John Bernard, a concerned citizen.
Well respected.
All right,
Well
Joe,
respected.
let's not go there. So I'm curious, what the process is, economy of scales, so the more units they have, the more cheaper it will be, is that the thinking of the park, is that the process of going for a variance, that the economy of scales is gonna help them? Just curious.
It might. I mean, there's gonna be infrastructure in there, there's gonna be, you know, added cost to the process, especially as it progresses throughout the park.
Yeah, if they put sewer in for the entire park, that, you know, because you're not that far from the river. You go off the back of the hill.
I don't know, take that, not far from the river, we could dump it in the river.
No, you have groundwater that's going down towards that river. Was septic, where you would, if you had sewer, would,
No, I understand.
yeah, be
I just thought-
less of a problem, I know.
Where you put that.
So there was a question in there someplace.
I think I guess how I would address it, you know, the idea would be, yeah, to a certain degree, economy of scale, we would have, you'd be sharing the costs of the entire cooperative amongst 39 members, as opposed to 29 members. You know, certainly we would expect the cost of utilities, water to go up, but you know, with you know, if newer homes are in in these lots, I think you know, we'd see some conservation of water as far as, you know, the amount of water that each home uses. We would, you know, hopefully see some reduction in that. And you know, other costs as far as you know, plowing the roads, certainly you're not going to increase the costs exponentially compared to what you've got now. And as far as
I guess I'm getting a little confused. So I know it's been for sale, they've been out there trying to sell it, right? And there was a for lease sign out there. I got called like 3 times from the guy who was the broker who had it. So at one point, there was out there, it was for sale for commercial use, but they approached me 3 times for it. So I know that. So I'm saying that didn't work out, nobody bid on it, so now they're trying to make it into units so they can make revenue out of it that way, is that the
Right,
process?
that's right, I don't think you were here when we discussed this. I think that's what, I think we missed the part where we said, Raycor was right, that he was a commercial lease space. At one time had lowered his contract rate and eventually closed shop. So that was income, that was part of to pay their debt service.
Right, there was a broker that called me, there was a sign out there for
Yeah.
quite a while that they were trying to do commercial lease out there.
Yep.
So he had called me and I was going back and forth with him. So I'm just trying to understand it, so that didn't really work out, so now what we're gonna try to do is put some units in there to try to make some money off the land that way. Is that the process?
Well, like,
So
like,
utilize the land.
Yeah.
I'll make money.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, as a cooperative, they don't wanna be in the business of leasing commercial property. It's not what they are set up to do. I don't think there are any, I don't know if there are other
Whole
cooperatives that
different
do
set
it,
of laws.
you know?
Now, are they able to subdivide it off and sell it off, so they don't have to deal with that unless somebody else develop it, and then they just stay with those units?
They had it marketed and they were told that it wouldn't, it wouldn't, A, it wouldn't sell, and B, it wouldn't be worth what they owe on it.
Yeah, okay, so it's an economic issue, that's all, I was just trying to understand. That's all I have.
And that's all you have? Mr.
That's all I
Gordon?
got for you, Joe.
That's all the citizen is concerned about then?
I was just curious.
Yeah,
I've just been watching this piece forever. I've been watching
I
this
understand, I
going on.
haven't seen you for a while.
That's another reason why I came by, to say hi.
Okay, we have anything else from the public? Okay, so at this time I'll close it to the public, bring it back to the board. The board's consideration and discussion. Do we have any?
Yeah, you know, in researching this myself, that the financial end of the hardship did come up, did cross my mind. But that's, to me, that's offset by the fact that they're already allowed 30 additional units in their units, so you're only adding another 10. So the financial hardship factor, I guess, is mitigated.
Yeah, I don't see it as a financial, I see it as,
But initially it was a concern of mine, you know, and that's usually what are you doing with the hardship?
Yeah, right.
Mhm. Yeah, well, yeah.
Relative to something on the property with the topography of the land itself, which makes it unusable.
To me, I looked at it with, you know, the view that it's actually reducing, you know, density. I mean, it's not creating any more of a dense situation than you would have,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, by the ordinance, it allowed up to 30 anyway, so. Yeah, so I'm good, I'm okay with it.
I feel that, I don't see this as an economic thing. I think it's I mean, granted, there's economics behind it because the property is out there. If you can't do anything with it, why can't you use it?
Right.
And obviously, theoretically, it's a commercial, it could be considered a commercial piece, and they could do all kinds of stuff if somebody wanted it, and if they could, but they choose to go this way, which is really not less dense than if you put a couple of businesses out there, and then the traffic would be that much greater for the businesses itself. So it doesn't seem to be anything that would cause any negative effects to the location of the site. As far as access goes, there's access to Route 3 in 1,000 places along there, between here and Laconia, so I mean, it's really, that's immaterial. The whole thing, as far as I can see, is just strictly based upon being able to use the site for something that would be beneficial. And more important than anything else, I really feel that bringing the sewer up in there is a big improvement to the whole picture. And they obviously can't do it on their own. They're probably going to need grants or something to do this, and this would be a reasonable start. The only limitation that I guess I'm concerned about is I just don't want to see older units come onto the new sites. And we could condition that to anything that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah. I think that,
So even though the ordinance does call for 95, the reasonable level would be 10 years, I would think, and base it on that. So that the units that were placed on the sites would be somewhere between new and 10 years old. How does everybody feel about that?
yeah, a lot of new stuff deteriorating.
It's always off.
Not, you know, depending on how much care they give.
Well, I mean, granted a 10-year-old unit, if they haven't taken care of it, the chances are they're not gonna wanna move it into the site anyway.
It's not your chip.
That,
Right.
that municipal, surge, that doesn't include municipal water too, that surge.
Water already in there.
Yeah, they already have municipal water, right?
Yeah, they're in the,
It's a lot.
water district.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, 10 years, seems reasonable.
I mean, that would bring the cost of mobile home down to, I don't know, 20,000-30,000. Depending how much you pay for it initially, but I mean,
Yeah.
it keeps it affordable, is what I'm getting at. I guess that being said, I'd be open to a motion.
Let's see if we can, we had a couple of conditions here that we're working on, right?
Okay?
If we go with a motion to approve, we want to make sure that the plan includes additional surge.
Yes. Yeah.
Here we just discussed the age of the, any new mobile home that's going in here. Or should we refer to it as manufactured? Mobile homes are,
No, manufactured homes more correct.
Is,
Manufactured housing.
is there any way to condition it with, as far as the, not strictly on the age of the home, but somehow the condition? I guess that's probably more difficult to condition it, but I mean, I guess I would,
No way
I
to-
fear somebody having a.
that's kind of subjective.
It is, and that's why I guess it's probably difficult to do, but I hate to limit someone having a home that's over 10 years old that's, in great shape and for all other reasons should be allowed
Yeah.
in there, but,
Rejected because of age.
and I don't know how
There's
you do it
no
on
way
a
to
case by
control
case.
that.
What's that?
There's no way. I
It
remember
is
we-
difficult, I agree.
We had this discussion when we created this ordinance as to how that would go down. And there is a, oh gosh, what was it? I don't think it's talked about in here.
Jeannie, have you run into?
Yeah, one of the things that we've really been studying lately is how manufactured housing is in today's standards built versus 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And of course, you probably know that anything prior to 1976 was pre-HUD code, so that's kind of definitely a no-no in our eyes, that, we don't want people. But what we found is that a lot of people who set that 10-year limit forego the opportunity for some folks who like to upgrade their manufactured home. So let's say they buy a single wide,
Yeah.
and 10 years into it, they've decided they want to upgrade to a double wide. That 10-year-old unit is still a fabulous unit. I mean, as recently as, I actually live in one, it's a 1984, and people say all the time, oh, this is fairly new, isn't it? They're designed so differently today.
It
I would
depends on
just-
how much care they give,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and they're so much better built. I want to say like anything post 1990 is just, it's far superior. Some of them are even Energy Star post 1995.
They are required to meet building codes.
Yeah, they usually get inspected anyhow before, but
It's a HUD code, it's not a town code.
Yeah.
It's not a town
It's not
code.
a
So
state code.
So I was just wondering if, could there be a stipulation that the building meets all certain codes so that it's less subjective,
You'd have to relate that to a year ago. That was what we talked about
Yeah.
back then, is the fact that there was a HUD code that was set up as of 95. That's what they based this on initially, which was fine. I mean, it worked, it gave you something to refer to. I don't know that we ever were able to get a copy of that code, but it gave us a basis in which to put it in the
yeah, and those were like
ordinance.
installation standards and whatnot too, I think, went along with all of that.
Yes.
So I mean, what we see typically is, it depends on the town, but sometimes like, and of course, we're not talking 10 lots in most cases, we're talking about 1 or 2. That, the building inspector comes out and actually gets a visual inspection of the home going in, and but I know it's hard because you're gonna be moving it in from somewhere else, but, I mean, today, to limit to 10 years, I think is really tough. It might it's okay if that's what the board decides to do, but I think it may exclude some good opportunities, not only for people wanting to move homes onto these lots, for other people around that may be looking to upgrade their existing home.
Would it apply to existing homes? If it was a
No.
condition?
It would be grandfathered.
It would be very however, I think your question is, if you wanted to replace an older mobile home, what could you replace it with?
Right.
You know?
Or if somebody, let's say somebody living in Windy Hill wanted to replace theirs, and they wanted to offer it to sell to somebody wanting to put it into Gaslight, and their home is 11, 12, maybe 15 years old, that 10-year would limit them from the opportunity to do that.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
No, I understand. Good
Yeah,
point.
just a thought for the board to consider. As it stands now, correct me if I'm wrong, please. As it stands now, if the zoning board didn't place any condition related to age, 95 would be the threshold, right? So that's 19 years old. So, and nothing's going in right away. There still has to be a site plan review with the planning board. And Chairman Plesner, you mentioned the fact that perhaps the zoning board needs to be, the zoning ordinance needs to be amended. So if the zoning board did not place such a condition tonight, it's really still well within the town's court to deal with in terms of the fact that there's still a site plan review hearing. No homes are going to go in prior to the opportunity to amend the zoning ordinance. And it gives the planning board time, maybe the zoning board could correspond with the planning board and say, hey, we think you guys ought to at least prepare for the possibility of setting a condition with an age on the home. So I guess my point is, if the board decides it's a little sticky to address tonight, there's still opportunity to address it
Yeah,
down the
you
road.
bring up from a very valid point, that we could just, we could place the condition to comply with whatever the current, whatever that happens to be, but the zoning ordinances that the planning board would put on the ballot to be voted on in March. And we could address it that way and not even deal with that kind of restriction for the variance, that's true. You good with that? Robert?
Yeah, just thinking about wording, so.
Mr. Brown is our brain trust.
I think the sewer condition is a valid condition.
Yeah.
I think
Oh, most certainly, yes, most certainly, yes. If the sewer was not gonna be going in, and we were gonna be putting septic systems in, I would, see that as a real negative.
That's what
I wanna see things get better,
Right.
and this would be a good start, and I do know you have that 400 or 500 foot run to get back to the park to begin with. It probably cost $40,000 just to get back to the park, let alone going down the different streets to get to the homes.
Doesn't get any cheaper either. It's not getting any cheaper as the years go on.
That's right, that's very true. Because the only thing you have is the fact that you would be crossing your own property, that's cheaper than going down alongside the highway.
Yeah. And it was nice because the town provided a manhole and sub
That's stuff there,
out
yes.
of the main, and there's actually a manhole on the property that we would be connecting into, as opposed to, really, like you said, digging up Route 11, and that would be a nightmare as far as, traffic control and dealing with the state getting permitting on opening that up.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was something that the town saw when they built that sewer, and I think, I certainly appreciate it, the residents should appreciate it too, that it was done.
No, they're paying for it.
Well, yeah.
So let's move along.
Okay, I'm open.
I'll go ahead and do the ball tag here. Motion
You got brain trust.
that we approve case 14-7, is it?
14.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. 14.
With the conditions that municipal storage will be provided for all 39 new units. And,
Wait a minute.
There's 29 existing, so
I don't think we can do it that way.
Well, okay, we can fine tune the
Well,
wording.
the sewer would be for this with the eventual future expansion.
Yeah.
That would be rather than time to something direct like that.
Yeah.
It'd take a while.
Yeah, we can tweak that. And then, the second condition would have, we'll have to generate something relative to compliance with whatever the site plan, comes up with for age of units that they're allowed to move in. I'm just not able to put it together right now,
Okay,
but we can do that,
the approval would be contingent upon them
yeah.
complying with whatever
Yeah.
the ordinance calls for relative to the installation of units. At the time, they're ready to do that.
Mhm.
If the planning board chooses to modify it, it'll be modified, and you'll have to deal with that, whatever it might.
Right.
And then at the end of the conditions that the planning board places on their approval, right?
Sure, you know, I mean, this
Yeah.
will be something.
That would be the best way to do
It'll
it.
be leaving it in their hands, because they're the ones looking at the site plan anyway.
Yeah, it's gonna get a lot more detail with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there it is, I think those are the only two conditions that we really need on this.
Okay, so how do you, based upon what Robert said,
What do I have written
what
down?
do you have written down?
So moved by Mr. Brown to approve 1407 with two conditions. One, that municipal storage be provided for the new units.
Sewer.
Sewage, not storage.
Storage.
Did I say store? I think I said sewerage. I meant to say sewerage.
You said storage, but that's
Same thing.
There's a lot of storage space.
Yeah, no holding tanks. We are not approving holding tanks. Municipal sewerage be provided for, so the new units have to be connected to the municipal sewer.
Right.
And then the second condition, basically, the approval is contingent upon conformity with all elements of the zoning ordinance, including age of the structures.
Perfect. It's almost perfect, yeah. Very good, very well.
You said it, I
At,
just,
at the time of
installation.
installation of their
Okay.
home.
All right,
So which could go out a couple of years from now.
okay.
And we'll kind of, we'll wash our hands of
Yeah.
any specific time, and I'd rather get into a pissing contest with the planning board and let them deal with it themselves. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Right.
And aye. You have your approval. I hope everything goes well. And
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you very much.
A good situation over there for everyone concerned.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for coming.
Nice job, good job. Thank you. Good luck.
You had your I didn't realize that.
You reminded me of a Chopin.
Those people.
We don't pay attention to those calls.
I signed it just in case.
Well,
It's only
thank
if
you.
you answer it that we have a problem.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Okay, have a good night now.
You too. You too.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Larry.
I think we just have to
We-
approve the minutes.
We have approved those 9 minutes.
Well, yeah, they haven't actually officially been approved yet.
Okay.
Paper here.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from last month.
2 months ago, actually.
And the month previous.
August and September? Is it both of them?
Yes.
I'll second it. If you want to, you want to say it. If you want to voice it.
We got a motion, we got a second?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Gonna have a little brain fart there. Okay, that being said, unless someone has anything else to bring up,
Let's go back over the wording on those again, so that you don't have to sit there and stress out.
Well, I was actually gonna use the tape, to get it exactly, but I'll read it one more time. Approve 1407 with the condition
14
that.
dash 7, isn't it dash 7?
I said,
You keep saying 1407.
okay,
14, isn't it 14?
14-07, how's that?
Oh, is it it is 07, okay, that's right, you are using a 0, aren't you?
Yeah.
Wow,
Okay.
that's particular.
Telling you.
You do this at home?
Now I see, not knowing the O, and now I see
No,
why
I
you're
forgot that he
saying
was
that.
using an O in there as well.
Yeah,
Oh.
just in
My
case
fault.
it gets up to,
Sorry, sir.
once we start getting 100+ cases a year, I'll have to make it 14007.
Yeah, you would.
Approve 14-07, with conditions,
That's right.
2 conditions. One, that the new units be connected to municipal sewer, and that the approval is contingent upon conformity with all elements of the zoning ordinance, including the age of the structure at the time of installation.
Sounds pretty good to me.
Sounds pretty good to me.
You
Thank
guys
you.
wrote it.
Oh, thanks, that's.
Yep.
Yeah, well, 14-07.
Yes.
I just checked that. There's the dash.
Do you have any other issues that we need to raise that you can think of?
I don't know, when you ask me that, you make me wonder if I'm forgetting something.
Well, I mean,
What do you mean? What are you really trying to say?
I'm not leaning into anything, I just,
Where are you going with
I
that?
can't think of anything now, but that probably means tonight when I lay my head down to go to bed, I'll think of all 7 things I wanted to tell you. It's not coming to me at the moment. I just get the feeling you're trying to get at something, but that's
No.
okay.
Come on, spit it out, Joe. Stop beating around the bush.
no, I'm not thinking of
Driving the guy
anything,
crazy.
I just don't wanna overlook something myself.
Yeah.
I assume you'll advise our zoning enforcement person relative to the lights up there?
Yes. Yep. Yep. Yeah, I put a note on my desk, so I'd like, let's see, I'll see him tomorrow, I'll mention it, and my guess is, well, we have everything we need to move forward. I mean, the only thing he might want to do is talk to Ms. Gates,
Yeah.
just to get her take on
And
it.
she- I'm sure
Conversation
she'd be
thing, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Very happy.
But I feel like I heard word about this a couple weeks ago too, so it's,
She told me she talked to Pat. I'm assuming it's Pat Constantino,
yeah,
because Pat was at the meeting that night.
yeah,
Mhm.
I bet
She
you're right.
was- Yeah. So that's who I think she said she ran into somewhere, and she had mentioned it, and Pat said she would bring it up, but I'm not sure that that ever happened.
Yeah, maybe it was Pat. It was one of those, busy days in the office where it did come up, and I didn't get enough to sort of grab it and run with it. But now having heard it a second time, I think we need to. Yeah,
I would appreciate that.
yeah, I will.
So I've been accosted at the gym. So we adjourned?
But we continue that.
Yes, I do.
Oh,
Okay. I just want to make sure.
There's something else, make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
You got a second, all in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Well done.
We are done for the evening.
Quite a purse over there.
It's a red button on the side,
Oh,
Yes,
and it should say stopped or
Pause.
purple leather.
Purple.
There's